Hey everyone, welcome back to the More For Me and You podcast. This week we have on filmmaker Chaysen Beacham, and we get the chance to talk about his new film, What We Find on the Road. And then later, we talk about a film that he chose on Mometu called Stupid Games. It's a fun little indie horror flick, and you're going to love it. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the episode.
Yeah, that's right. You're tuning in to the More For Me and You podcast. That's real interviews, real movie reviews, real people, real journeys. If you real, lock in. I've been working all night, early in the morning. If you hustle high, hustle, you can never waste a moment. That's more for me and you. 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 Let's go.
It's so cool to just connect with you in person.
Again, after what? It's
almost
probably,
been a year.
really since the premiere.
March 22nd
Wow.
was the premiere of Stupid Games. And we got a chance to meet there.
Yeah.
Just a great film. And we'll get the chance to talk about that a little later because,
It is a good film, though.
well, the one thing I'm really excited that we get to do later is obviously we talk about a film that you chose on Mometu, and you chose Stupid Games, which is where we met. So I love that.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I mean, I'd love to get to know a little bit about you, if you're okay with sharing that.
Yeah. Where should we begin?
Let's go all the way back. But no, like
I was born on a cold August. No, I'm just joking. I was born in June.
You're born in June, not in August. It could have been cold in June.
It could. Well, no, not where I'm from.
No.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean,
The South.
I can tell you're not from LA because you're really nice.
Thanks.
So you're not a typical Angelino who got a little grit to him.
That is wearing off, though. I must admit, like, LA is crushing my soul. No, I'm just joking.
You're transitioning a little bit.
I know.
You're starting to. Have you flipped anyone off while you're driving?
No.
Have you honked at anyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I literally honked at someone today because I was just like, the light goes green, yellow, red, and then they went. And I was just like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. We're just not gonna move.
Always got to wait a second. You
Yeah.
gotta wait for people to get that last little moment to run the light.
I think that's something that people that aren't from LA are pretty weirded out by.
100%.
You pull up to a stoplight in any other city, and it's like, oh, it's green, go, right? It's yellow, quick, go faster. Red, dang, I missed it. In LA, it's like green. Is it green? Oh, it's green. I'm gonna mosey on through.
Let me put my phone down. Now I can drive.
And then it's red, and 6 more cars go, and
Yep.
you're just like, what did I just witness? Like, and a cop. I've seen cops consistently run red lights, and it's like, I don't think traffic signals mean the same thing here, but
Now, what I will say, I don't think it has to do as much with LA as it has to do, like with LA people, as it has to do with the LA infrastructure.
yeah,
Because if they did plan for growth and expansion and making the streets wider, they could have made turn lanes more efficient and
Yep.
could have sped it up. But we're not here to talk about infrastructure.
Right.
We're here to talk about you. So where are you from? Where are you from
I'm
originally?
from Wilmington, North Carolina, originally, which for the longest time, a group of filmmakers that I currently know out here, they're also from Wilmington, and they called it Wilmywood for the longest time.
Wilmywood.
So before Pinewood Studios opened, before the big transition, ATL boom, all that stuff, Wilmington, North Carolina housed the largest sound stages on the East Coast.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, Screen Gems EUE, which now it's not even called, I think it's called Cineverse, Cinespaces, bought Screen Gems. And it, like Pirates of the Caribbean was done there. A bunch of the Marvel movies were done there.
Yeah.
Under the Dome. I mean, you can look it up. It stayed pretty fervent for a long time. And everybody was like, are you just going to stay here? And I was. But Pat McCrory, I stood on stage with Governor Pat McCrory from North Carolina when he did his campaign, Film Equals Jobs. Ran his entire campaign on Film Equals Jobs, gets in office 2 months after he's elected. He himself writes to have the tax incentive removed, demolish the tax incentive. And it was unreal to see. But that night, every production, there were, I think, 6 production, every soundstage was full. We're talking huge sets, everything.
Yeah. I mean, everyone had planned to
Everybody
make that kind of boom.
Yeah, because they had like 6 projects going out of just that one area. Big, huge, like $100 million type show running operations. All of them overnight. They loaded them up in trucks, drove all the way to Atlanta.
Wow.
80,000 jobs overnight gone.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And I've heard of Nollywood, I've heard of Bollywood, but I've never heard of Wilmywood.
Yeah, well, you haven't heard of it.
I'm guessing that's why we have
catch.
never heard of Wilmywood again, because it doesn't exist anymore. Like the tax incentives are gone. Are they back again?
They're back. They are back. Oddly enough, and it was run before Cine Spaces bought it. It was run by a family, and I won't say their name, but they were very choosy. Coming from a land of complete independent projects and like lots of really good filmmakers coming out of the East Coast in that area, North, South Carolina. Prior to the Georgia boom, there were tons of really good filmmakers in Georgia, and these guys would not let productions like operate out of their sound stages. They would rather them be empty. True story. They would rather them be empty than work out a deal that is specific to the needs of a show. And then it got worse when DC made the TV show Swamp Thing. Are you familiar?
Mm-hmm.
So DC came in and, man, did they spend some money. Like so much so that we were just like, man, like the people that own this infrastructure are never going to be the same.
Yep. Because they're used to that big
bucks. So much money. So much money. You can do your research if you want to put like, it was so much money. That's how much money it was down at the bottom.
How much money was it?
How much was it? It was a lot of money. And the crazy part about that deal was, from what I was told, DC paid for 2 years up front, and then they canceled the show after the first year. So the people that own the studio were just riding high, and they're just like, yo, we've got a cachet of resources, so we're going to say no to all these small films because we can.
Yep.
And that's what happened. Like nothing wanted to go there because it was not film friendly. I've got a friend, Dominic Santana, business partner of mine, lifelong friend. He has made in the past year, he personally has brought $1.5 million to the state to film there. And we're talking like Tubi original type films, or we just did one for BET. He partnered, like his company, he and I partnered on one with a company called Swirl Films. They're huge in Atlanta. Eric Thomasounis is a great guy. I've known him for 20 years as well. And we were all just curious. Like, we hadn't seen each other in like a decade. And then, we're doing this production together and we're asking the same questions. Like, why don't we do more films here, in our home state? And the reason is, it's just like, nobody really wants to make it happen. Like, everybody's jaded, or from my experience, the people that are there make really good money because they're only union jobs that go there. So that when they're working, they're like, oh, I'm only going to work for these 6 months. But in those 6 months, they're going to make $100,000. Like,
that's a good half a year.
That's a great half year. And so guess what they do? Because the cost of living is so cheap there, they just are like, how much you paying? And rather than go and work for, $300 a day, they're just like, no, I'm good, man. I need my my union minimums. And it's just like, so in my opinion, that's a reflection of everything that's currently going on in the Atlanta or in the LA market. Like, and if you want to get into how I feel about that, we can.
No, we don't need to get into that. That's a whole nother podcast. We can have you back. We can have you back at a later time. But no, it's good to hear about film from another perspective, like another part of the country. Because and a lot of the time, people that are in LA, they just hear about film in LA. And I think, especially now, with so many people leaving and making content all the other places, just finding ways to survive as a filmmaker, we're hearing more and more about not just indie filmmaker journeys, but also about like where they're making films and seeing the different tax incentives that can come out of it. I mean, it's not something that it's it's been around for a while, right? Tax incentives to shoot different places, but I feel like we're just hearing more about it. Maybe with social media and just different things are coming out more about just these journeys of how filmmakers are surviving. LA is not the only place to make films anymore.
To scratch the surface of that a little bit, two of my close friends have picked up their entire operations. We're talking multi-million dollar studios with volume walls and everything, and have moved their entire operation to other states. And when I asked why, they said, because they're really connected as well. Clearly, if you're running that type of operation, you're pretty, in tune, or you've got the pulse of the industry. And they said that their biggest fear, and I've heard this from 3 different EPs from major networks, said that we are likely to have happened to us what happened to the car industry in Detroit. Detroit held the, they were the mecca for a solid 35 years, 40 years, or maybe even longer. And then once other tax incentives started presenting themselves in other states, and there was like, oh, there's actually an infrastructure here, everybody bounced. And that's what we're seeing. Like, I think Variety just did a report, and less than 5% of all productions that are in the U.S., less than 5% are actually being filmed in L.A.
Wow.
So, that sucks.
It's unfortunate.
It goes with what
it is
you were
unfortunate,
saying.
and I hope we get officials elected into office that will support film in California.
Yeah, I think there's like 6 million people just in the greater Los Angeles area that are directly connected to film. 6 million people. I
actually just saw a Reddit thread last night, and just scrolling through, and someone was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about moving to LA from Toronto. I'm a filmmaker. I really want to get out there." And like everyone's like, "Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Like unless you have a job lined up, don't come.
Yeah.
Unless you have parents that can write, like just float you, don't come. Like stay in Toronto, figure out a job, and go somewhere else." So, but yeah, we don't need to get too deep on that because again, a whole nother podcast episode on that. So,
and also,
but thanks for sharing about that.
Yeah.
But getting back to yourself, like what was your childhood like, and almost like what led you into wanting to become a filmmaker? Like, was that a childhood thing, or was that a later down in life kind of thing?
So I was in front of the camera prior to, realizing that I sucked in front of the camera.
So you were an actor?
I was an actor. Yeah. I've done a few movies. You could probably find them out there. They're not good.
I'm sure they're great.
Oh man, they're comical. But it was a blast. I had a blast doing it. But I left the industry for like 6 years, became a chef, did that. And then being a chef destroyed my love for cooking outside of like cooking for, small groups or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I came back to the industry, and the rest is kind of history. But yeah, I did start off at a young age. My favorite film is The Goonies.
Yeah. Solid
of
choice.
all time.
Solid
of all
choice.
time. I'm just like, everybody's like, really, The Goonies? And I'm like, what doesn't that movie have? Like, the little guy wins. It's still heartfelt. It's adventurous. There's pirates. There's gold. There's treasure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that film.
Aren't they potentially remaking that? Is that happening?
Ooh.
I hope not. But I heard that something's happening. And I don't know if it's like one of those remakes or if it's like a Twister thing where they, continue the story kind of thing. I don't know.
They better continue the story. If they try to recast 4 young boys, and a girl and an older brother, I'm just gonna be like, what is wrong with you? Mm-hmm. I'm friends with some of the guys from The Sandlot, and I love that movie too. Like, man, you want to talk about one of the best summertime movies, like 4th of July movies?
Phenomenal.
Amazing story. And I was talking with some of them, and I was like, are they really going to do it? And they were, but then they were like, oh, we're going to turn it into a TV show. And I was like, okay, like what? And he was like, and we are going to live in, and it's going to be our kids. And I was like, okay, I think I'm okay with that, because now they're old enough to have kids. Like, the young boys never left the cul-de-sac, if you will.
Yep.
And then now they have family.
Like their kids.
Their kids. And I'm like, okay.
Maybe it's like the baseball field, like, is weeds and all that stuff.
Maybe.
And like, it just like never got remade kind of thing and just hidden or whatever. I don't know.
They and I'm actually working on something with them right now called the Play Forever Project, which is pretty solid. It's a TV series kind of about these guys bringing the ability for younger inner city children that don't necessarily have the resources to play.
Yeah.
They come and they donate all this stuff to them.
Cool.
And so these kids can play forever. And I was like, man, I'm 100% on board to help you guys take that to whatever, heights it can be, because kids need to be allowed to be kids.
Yep.
So that they can turn out to have ambitions and dreams and, not be jaded by the time they're, in middle school. And, with the way the world works right now, it's like, no dreaming, you know what I mean? It's like, squash that. You need to,
You're 8. Why don't you have a job yet?
For real. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I got really off topic.
You did, but it's okay. I love just, dude, we got down to Goonies and Sandlot. Where are we going wrong?
I know, it's a film podcast.
So you obviously inspired to be an actor. You got into that, wasn't a thing, became a chef. Then you stopped cooking and you became a filmmaker. Why did you become a filmmaker?
I loved the idea that anything you think of, if you really dissect it, you could probably put on screen. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty evident across any genre, whether it's horror, sci-fi, love, or what is it? Not love?
Romance.
Love. Stupid. Yeah, anything you could think of, you can portray it the way that you hoped it would be, Mm-hmm. And every film that I want to do, if I'm fortunate enough, every film that I do from here on out will hopefully have a ton of heart in it and a ton of perseverance, to give you that little edge of like, hey, it might be tough right now, but you'll be okay.
Yeah. We always need a little inspiration in our lives.
Yeah.
I follow a lot of inspirational accounts on on Instagram, TikTok, just because as I'm scrolling, I want something that's going to build me up a little bit.
Yeah.
There's so many things that'll bring you down, so many sad stories around the world that you just hear about. You're scrolling, you're just like, oh, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. But then you find something inspirational. So I think the world needs a little bit more of that. So
yeah,
I'm glad you're one of the filmmakers that's wanting to do that. And
with that being said, my next film is likely to be a serial killer psychological.
My next movie is a slasher.
No, it's kind of in the vein of Silence of the Lambs, but it's it's kind of in the vein of Silence of the Lambs. So it's a bit twisted, but it also addresses. I don't even know the word for it, but you've clearly had this thought of oh my gosh, now I see what my parents were like.
Oh yeah.
As TikTok and Instagram and all these social media platforms have gotten to the heights that they're at. I'm sure that's how our parents felt when computers and they're like, what? You can talk to somebody across the, and they get jaded, or they're just like, oh man, I remember the good old days. And
the good old days.
I found myself.
I remember when I had to walk to school both ways, uphill in the snow, barefoot.
So I've tried to. So this film is a juxtaposition of media. So the film is called The Influencer, and it's about a serial killer who, his victims that he claims are influencers that he thinks are taking away from society, meaning the NPCers, this is wonderful ice cream, and they're making $1 million a year just to sit there and get a quarter every time they mimic an emoji.
Dude, I'm so jealous of.
I wish I could make money that way.
Food bloggers and just local. I think local something I remember OC local, or I don't know, some guy just goes around to different restaurants and new restaurants and tries them out, and just over the years just built it up, and now he gets asked to come to restaurants to kind of a diners, drives and dives almost kind of thing, showcase my place, have people come. So smart. And I love food, so just why did I not do that?
Clearly. So yeah, that film just dives into both sides of the spectrum of on one hand, social media is incredibly dangerous.
Yep.
We've seen that through bullying. We've seen that through misinformation. We've seen that through trends that are degrading. But then also, they're not going anywhere. So why fight them? And that's what this film does. Is it examines how someone can be a part of an entity that's not going away, but try to make the entity a little more efficient, a little more morally sound, a little more,
Yeah.
And that's why this killer is, in my opinion, when I wrote the script, I was just like, you got to have somebody who is hopefully in their head. They're like, no, I'm doing good. I'm just executing it very poorly. And so that's what he does. He thinks he's doing well for, the bigger picture. But clearly he's killing people. So it's not good.
Who knows? That maybe it's a Mometu original one day.
Maybe.
But going back to your first film,
yeah,
you got a chance to direct a film.
Yeah, I did.
Like I saw a trailer and it said directed by Chaysen Beacham.
Yeah, very fortunate.
So cool. Tell us a little bit about your film, just so people know what to kind of expect and what to look for. And we can talk a little bit more about it later. But
the film is called What We Find on the Road.
Yeah.
It is a cross-country coming-of-age film. So a young kid from Boston, Massachusetts, or more local Cape Cod, is gifted a car by an ex-con of a father with a note that says, hey, meet me on your birthday in Vallejo, California. So he does so. He embarks on this journey against everybody's wishes and kind of discovers a little bit about himself along the way.
so cool. The first question when I watched the trailer, I was just like, what's in the box?
I did not write this film. Bill Haney wrote the film, and it's so funny because the project that I did a short film right after this, and there is a box in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a problem with boxes. I was like, Seven must have really made a lasting impression on me because, yeah, when you're, to anybody that's interested in watching the film, it is about the car and this boy going across country to meet a father who is an ex-con who went to prison for drug running and a number of, felonies. And in the trunk of this car, as you saw, there's a large steel box that's welded to the body of the car. You cannot open it without cracking a blowtorch, on it. And so, yeah, when you're like, what's in the box? I think that's kind of from my depiction or my understanding of it and how I wanted to portray it is does it really matter what's in the box? You're going to be faced with choices. And this young boy in the beginning, you've seen it, right?
Yep.
So in the beginning, everybody is making these choices for him. And it isn't until, a certain point in the movie where you can see a clear switch, and it costs him something. He's like, no, I don't care what you think. I'm going to do this. And the scene I'm talking about is the diner scene with his friend. And from that moment on, it's like, oh, wait, we've all been there. We've all been the teenager who wants to be an adult. And sometimes that means saying no to an adult. And you're like, oh, this could go over really badly. How am I going to, make it through this? And the big picture is look, life isn't that serious. You're going to make choices. You're going to get some bumps on the head. But in the end, you're just like, hey, tomorrow's another day. So
things I wish I knew as a high schooler, and it's so.
I wish in high school, I wish someone would have taught me, because when I was in high school, everybody was like, go to college, get a degree, get this job. And then, we were promised.
Step.
Yeah, it's like if this, then that scenarios. And I'm like, first off, life don't work that way no more.
Nope.
You can go to, my degree is in marketing strategies.
I was going to ask if you were a filmmaker, where did you go to film school?
No, I didn't. I just knew camera gear, and I knew when I first got started, I just knew. Oddly enough, I was a non-traditional student, so I went to NC State the first time, and I was a pre-vet curriculum. I was going to go into animals because I grew up on a farm, and I was like, that seems fun. I love animals, and I was like, oh God, I'm really not smart enough to do
what
this.
you know.
Yeah, so then, I chemistry was like, nah, dog, this ain't for you. uh, so
Same here.
So then I
like advanced math. Nope.
I'm really good at math. I
You
am
are.
horrible at chemistry. You would think. I did okay in biology and I did good in math. And you would think I would be, because that's what chemistry is, math and bio just coming together. Nope. When I tell you I was lucky to get a C in both of the classes that I did. But nonetheless, like I said, I was a non-traditional student. I went to university the first time, dropped out because of a girl, honestly.
Good for you.
I know, right?
Well done.
Yeah, so smart. Dropped out because of a girl, came back to, went to community college, got an associate's degree, and I was like, I don't need any more schooling after this. I know what I want to do. And then I chose to come, after being a chef, I chose to come back to school because I was like, I really want to do film. And I was like, I need to understand business. So I went to the Cameron School of Business at UNCW. And whilst I was there, I was actually given the opportunity to redo all of their marketing materials for the Cameron. And it was a huge contract. It was the most money I've ever made while I'm there.
That's great. Perfect.
And then that afforded me to fly to Belgium and work with the European Union 7th Framework Program. And I did a dissemination piece on equine genetics. So I was like, my old love of animals was meeting my new passion and newfound career path. And so I did that, and that went really, really well. And then one of my mentors was like, hey, and this was 8 years ago, one of my mentors was like, hey, do you want to come out here and actually do film for real rather than doing like commercials and, docu-series and documentaries and all this other jazz? And I was like, I'd love to. And so he hired me as a production coordinator on a TV show. And I did that. And he was like, look, I know you're used to running your own show, but when you get out here, you got to, kind of fall in line.
Got to listen.
Yep. And at first I was like, okay, I'm learning a lot. Like I was learning so much. But then I also realized I know way more than I should.
Yeah.
And I opened my mouth one time, and Steve Nigg is an executive producer and director, great guy. And he sat me down one day, and he didn't know anything of me. And he was like, hey, we're appreciative of you being here, but know your role, shut your hole. And that stuck with me.
What a quote.
Yeah,
what a
know
quote.
your role, shut your hole.
I love that.
And it stuck with me too.
Yeah.
And I resented it for the longest time until I got into more powerful positions. And then you start to realize why people at their position, why they're there, number one. You respect the process so much more because if you let it get to you, it'll destroy you. And so he and I worked together on a couple of things, and him and Adam Moyer, both of them are executive producers on this film, What We Find on the Road. And they're just great guys, know the industry really, really well. They come from the reality world, not necessarily the feature world, but just great all-around dudes, full of life lessons. And another mentor friend of mine, the one that actually brought me out here, Michael Soto, again, amazing human being, tons of life lessons, like don't be afraid of work. And I guess like growing up on a farm and in a small community, like I'm about to go work for him just because I'm like not doing anything right now. I'm about to go be a script PA.
So cool.
Like working with a huge entity. So just to be on the set with, one of my mentors and,
Yeah. And it just makes you such a better, like well-rounded filmmaker to go back and do those things. Like now you're a director, but like to go back and do something else, a different role. Well, it just makes you more well-rounded as you're going to make your next film. So
I think a key thing that is harming our industry right now is entitlement.
Yeah.
Are you a part of a team? If the answer is yes, it doesn't matter if you're the tight end or you're the quarterback, you're just as valuable.
Absolutely.
And I grew up playing sports my entire life. And I grew up working hard for every position that I've had. So I have zero pride in standing on set while my mentor is like, hey, go grab this person a water. And I'm like, cool, I can go do that.
You grab myself a water.
Why? Because who am I? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if I've won an Oscar. It's like, you're still a human. They're still a human. Were you hired in this position or in this capacity? If the answer is no, then do what you were hired to do.
Yep.
Because ultimately, people just need to trust people. Like if you hired me to do something and I said I could do the job, it'd probably piss you off if you were like, Chaysen, why are you over there doing this?
Stay in your lane.
Know your role. Shut your hole.
Love that. Well, I'm glad you became a filmmaker. You made an incredible first feature film in What We Find on the Road. And so if you can, just look into that camera right there. Let people know where can we find it and, and why should we watch it?
The film is called What We Find on the Road. You can see it on Amazon. You can also find it on Apple. And if you're in the air, there are a number of airlines that it's playing. It's also in, I think, 13 other countries right now. So, yeah, it's no longer in theaters. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing about that. And, we'll be right back.
Thanks, man.
Being a small business is difficult, and that's why each week we've decided to shout out a different small business, and they literally have no idea that we're doing this. This week we've chosen Sinister Brew Coffee. Now, if you're into some spooky flavors, you definitely need to check out this horror-themed coffee company. Go check them out at sinisterbrewcoffee.com. And with that, let's jump back into the pod.
Chaysen,
Yes.
would you like to play a little game called This or That?
Ooh, yeah, let's do it.
So it's not trivia,
Okay.
but we're going to do this or that. And it's actually brought to you by Coastline Travel Advisors. So if you're ever looking to go back to Belgium or go anywhere else, go to coastlinetravel.com. They'll take care of all your travel needs. So we're going to ask you a series of questions, and some of them are fun. Some of them get a little more serious at the end, so just be ready for those.
Okay.
I ask every single one of my guests the first question, though. Tacos or pizza? It's a tough one.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
You cannot phone a friend.
Tacos as a whole or pizza as a whole? Pizza as a whole.
Pizza, all right. I'm a tacos guy, so
Yeah. I love tacos, but
that's also my
Man.
time from San Diego. So I lived
if
in
you would have
San Diego
said
for 5 years.
if
So
you would have said soft tacos or street tacos
No.
versus pizza,
just as a whole.
then yeah, pizza probably.
Then you got pizza, you got deep dish, you got you got
know.
New York style. So there's so many different ways. We're talking John's Bleecker. Like, what are we talking about? The mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Mountains. I love that.
I'd take a lake over the beach any day of the year, man.
My man. That's probably your East Coast showing.
Yeah.
Wine or beer?
I don't drink, so probably wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go 0% beers.
Yeah.
And no alcohol. I love it.
Yeah.
Good life choice. Takeout or cook a meal? And that's really funny because I did not know that you were a cook before. So this is great.
Cook a meal.
Cook a meal.
Yeah.
I'm about that too. I love cooking. Tomato or tomato?
Tomato, bro.
Tomato.
We're not from the UK.
Just
Tomato.
just a simple ask. Bring someone or be a +1?
Bring someone. Yeah.
It's
For
kind of
sure.
fun to be a +1. Like when you don't know anyone at the party, it's kind of fun sometimes.
That's true.
You mentioned DC before, but Marvel or DC?
Marvel. Yeah.
DC pays too much and ruins industries. Listen to earlier in the episode for that part. Stream the album or buy the vinyl?
First off, there's nothing better than analog sound.
Yeah.
So if you can own a vinyl, buy the vinyl.
Yeah. A little more difficult to change the record. And all
But
that
if
stuff,
I'm going with how often, because I love music, I would have to say if it's one of those two choices, I would say stream the music because I'm always on my phone, I'm always in my car, I'm always
just a little
driving,
easier to go.
and I need to be able to listen to music.
Can't bring a turntable in the car. Tell the joke or laugh at the joke.
Laugh at the joke.
All right. What's your favorite joke? Give me a bad too.
All right, I've only ever made up one joke in my life.
Great.
What kind of podcast is this?
All audiences more mature.
Okay. So me and my friend Dom, the one that I was telling you about,
Yeah.
he's a prankster, bro. He's funny. And so we were like, we've never made up a joke. Let's make up a joke. So here it goes. So a group of people walk into a candy factory, and one of them has to use the restroom. And while that person is away, the scientist explains, much like the everlasting gobstopper or the candy from Willy Wonka, he's like, we're working on this new synapse, like tongue to brain connection. So whatever you're wanting is what it is. So they eat it, and one of them's like, oh my gosh, this tastes just like strawberries. One of them eats it and was like, oh man, this tastes just like a steak. And then the guy walks back and he's like, what did I miss? And she's like, try this. And he throws the piece and he's like, ugh, mine tastes like dick. That's the only joke.
I did not think it was going there. That's so good. I'm gonna have to borrow that one. That might make the cut. Skittles or M&Ms? Speaking of candy,
Skittles.
Taste the rainbow. So for Christmas, are you gonna get a real tree or a fake one?
Fake. Yeah, I can't
so
deal
much
with
easier to deal with.
Can't deal with the bristles.
Yeah.
You just touch it and it just goes like
I have
over
a
the
toddler,
ground.
so
I love the smell though.
it's true. But you can get candles for
Yeah,
that.
you get a candle. You know.
You get to do an international film. Are you
Okay.
filming it in Italy or Bali?
Italy.
Great choice.
Yeah.
Phenomenal wine. But Bali would be.
I've never been to Bali, but I've been to Italy, and I spent 2.5 weeks there, and I loved it, bro. You wanna
Bali
talk
would be
about
nice though.
They're just nice. Italy, they're nice. The food is amazing.
True.
Oh my gosh.
Very true. You're going with Woody or Buzz?
Buzz. Yeah.
To infinity.
Just because he's a goof, man. He's like, nothing he does is like, none of his world is real. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
So like as a filmmaker, like Woody's like the realist. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, no, I can fly. But he can't, you know? Like, I like the hope.
This is actually, you're getting a little deeper now, but this is not so deep. But East Coast or West Coast? You're going to make some people real mad when you choose.
I know. West Coast for culture, East Coast for family. So I'm going to go East Coast.
East Coast.
Yeah.
Family takes the cake.
Yeah.
Who should have won Best Picture in 1999? Shakespeare in Love or Saving Private Ryan?
Saving Private Ryan.
But guess what won? Shakespeare in
what?
Love. Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture in 1999.
Yeah.
But it's like the most controversial.
Yeah.
Shakespeare in Love or Saving Private Ryan?
I don't care what you say. Saving Private Ryan is arguably the best or in the top. It's 100% in the top three best war movies ever.
Yeah.
Like
100% agree. So one director's body of work must go.
Oh God.
No longer
the whole
exists.
body. The whole body of work.
Everything gone. Spielberg
No,
or
he's
Scorsese?
Spielberg is my favorite director, so bye Scorsese. Sorry, man.
It's such a hard decision though.
It is because you got Departed, you got like, oh my God.
Yeah. And now going to you, who's going to compose your next film? You get to choose one of these two people to compose your next film. Is it going to be Hans Zimmer or is it going to be John Williams?
That's funny because I'm actually working with Raul. He's Hans Zimmer's digital instrument designer. So he builds the sounds that he uses. With that being said, there is no one better than John Williams. Sorry.
It's your choice. It's this or that. It's okay. There's no wrong answers.
Here's why. John Williams said he's never doing another movie again. So if I get to be that next movie, cool. Because Hans Zimmer is going to keep working.
Yeah.
So my next movie could be Hans Zimmer. But yeah,
I already threw the card.
John
so I'm not sure if you saw it, but would you rather win Best Picture or Best Director?
Best Picture, hands down.
You're a
I don't
team
care
player.
about.
You're a team
I don't
player.
care about myself, bro. If
I love
everybody can eat, done. Because let's be honest, if you win Best Picture, somebody should be talking to you about Best Director, anyways. So it's like,
Sure.
at least I did. Look,
You
I
should
might not be
you
the
should be
best
up for it.
director,
Yeah.
but I did my job.
True. Absolutely. You have to remake one of these films. And it's so funny because you actually mentioned one earlier.
Okay.
Seven or Fight Club?
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, Seven is a perfect movie, and doesn't lend itself to exploring, because there's only 7 deadly sins, and Kevin Spacey walking in and saying, like, I did this. Like, that to me is one of the best reveals of a criminal ever. Blood on his hands, walks in and goes, I did this. Good luck trying to stop it. That to me is amazing. Fight Club, on the other hand, because of the schizophrenia, I think you could explore other opportunities and still make a good film, even though Fight Club is arguably a perfect film too. So
I love it. I love getting this insight as from a director, like from a film.
So I would say I would attempt to remake Fight Club.
Fight Club. What movie should people go watch next? What We Find on the Road,
Okay.
or What We Find on the Road?
Oh, What We Found on the Road.
All right, let's go. Let's go watch What We Find on the Road.
Let's do it.
Thanks for playing, man.
I appreciate you.
Promoting your podcast is not easy, and that's why each week we've decided to promote a different podcast that we think you'll enjoy. This week we've chosen the How to Barbecue Right podcast. Join YouTuber and master chef Malcolm Reed as he talks about his tips and tricks on the grill, smoker, barbecue, you name it. Visit howtobarbecue.com the next time you're looking for a new recipe to impress your friends. And with that, let's jump back into the episode.
We kind of had a little bit of a task that was given to you. Go on Mometu,
Yep.
find a movie.
Yep.
Let's review it.
Well, Stupid Games, without a doubt, is what I'd love to talk about for a number of reasons. But Danny Abraham is a friend of mine and a phenomenal producer and filmmaker. So I'd love to dive into that if you're okay with it.
I mean, we plan to, so let's do it. I know.
All right.
I've seen it so many times.
I was about to say, I think I've seen it 3 times now. What can I say? What can I say about that? The execution of that film. I think George Lucas says it best. He was asked a long time ago in an interview about restraints, budget restraints, and everything. He said, "Well, every project is under a budget restraint. If you're given $50 million, they want to see $100 million. If you're given $50,000, they want to see $500,000 worth of production design or production worth." So, given the restraints that she was under, I think she perfectly executed an idea from page to screen.
Yeah.
So
we have obviously co-directed Danny Abraham,
Yep.
Nicholas Wendell.
Yep.
Danny also produced it,
mm-hmm.
and then Tanner, who wrote the story, turned out the story in about 3 days.
I know.
And this film was made for. Do you remember?
Yeah.
What is it? Go
I
ahead.
think it's $7 grand, $8 grand,
10 grand.
10 grand. Okay.
Nick will say 9,500. But if you who are listening have not seen it yet, here's the trailer.
So, how do you boys all know each other?
Oh yeah, so Rex and I were college roommates, and Stanley and I go way back.
To eating good food.
To beautiful people.
To playing stupid games.
Cheers. Oh my god. They better not put us on the same team.
I bet we'd be unstoppable.
All right, pick a board game.
I've never heard of this one before. Quest for Truth. Minutia.
Any objections?
None here, let's hit it.
Make your pick.
Oh, I get it. This is like a perverted mashup of a bunch of other games. Piece of cake.
I've never seen that card in there before.
It's almost like it knows.
Go, man!
Go ahead. Go.
Jackson!
You want to end up like him? We have to finish the game. Open the door!
You know, my mom always said that it's not the number of choices that you have, it's the wisdom to choose right.
Yeah, I really hope people love that trailer. Just an incredible film. I have such a heart for this film, and I'm so glad that you chose it because it's one of those films that, because it's made for such a low budget, when people see it, they don't realize it was made for that little.
Yeah.
They are so talented. Nicholas and Danny and really everyone that was involved. The whole cast was just incredible.
Everybody, because so Danny called me quite frequently. She was like, Chaysen, how do I do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like,
I've never made anything for that small of a budget.
I said, I think on a number of occasions, it was more so just like, hey, get through today. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Try to meet your day. And whatever those problems are for meeting your day, as long as you've met your day, throw those in a trash can because tomorrow's going to have a couple more. And just remind yourself, hey, in 2 weeks, I'm not going to have any of these issues because we'll be done. And then you have a whole nother set of issues with editing. But I didn't tell her that. It was more so about like just making sure that you honor your story. And I think that was like beautifully executed. The cast, my favorite cast member, and I forget his name, but the guy with the glasses.
Yeah. Stanley's the cast member, his name in the movie.
Yeah.
Grant Terzakis. I knew there was a Z in there. And I have a Z in my last name, so that's like, it hurts me. But yeah, he's
genuine.
He's genuine. He plays his role so well. I mean, but every single little detail about his character was just perfect. From the comb over haircut, the glasses. I mean, the sweater.
I know.
The sweater is so good.
And then what's weird is like the reason his character resonated with me is because, like you asked, would you rather invite somebody or would you rather be a third wheel? On one hand, a third wheel can be like cool. I get to know all these things. On the other hand, you're that guy. You're invited to a party where you're about to be killed or possibly killed by a djinn. Like what? Like if I invite somebody to my house, we ain't playing that game.
Yeah.
But no, the film overall, I think, was beautifully executed. They did a wonderful job with the sound design and the score. An even better job with the use of the monster or the djinn in the film. I thought that part where, not in the bathroom, but when who is it that walks into, I think it's a girl, it's the guy, walks into the bedroom and there's a pile of clothes.
Yeah.
And the way that they designed the shot or the director picked the angle, the djinn it looks like the head of the djinn is a part of the pile of clothes, and then it stands up and it opens its eyes. And in low budget horror films, one of the biggest issues is either you go really far right or really far left with it. You go into this looks corny and that's why I like it, or you go, this looks really believable and holy shit. And they, in my opinion, in many of those shots, I was like, I know what mask they used. I know how they built this creature. And I'm like, there's no reason it should have played as well as it did.
I think they kind of hit on both ends of the spectrum.
They did. They hit it beautifully. And I was like, good on you. Yeah. And I just remember at the premiere, I was like hugging Danny and I was just like, you guys did exactly what you set out to do. And not many people can say that. Like, you went above and beyond, especially for the budget that it was made for. It's just like, hope to God that it is just wreaking, tons of success, and getting the notoriety and, viewers' eyes on it as it should. So,
yeah, I mean, the two questions I had for you about this film was like, what was your favorite moment and who was your favorite character? And I think you just answered both of those, which is great.
Yeah.
Who is going to love this film? I mean, I think that's the most important thing because it's not, and for me personally, it's not a typical horror film, right? Like it's not a deep, like what people think of a horror film. They think like, I don't want to watch horror because I don't want to see a bunch of blood, and I don't want to see a slasher. I don't want to see something where just like they're just killing going on left and right. And some people just hate being like crazy scared, right? Yeah. Like my wife she almost didn't want to come to the premiere.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy she did. And
I remember
she
actually, we spoke at the end of the premiere and you were like, my wife hates horror films and she loved this movie.
Yeah.
And I think to expound on your question from before, which was like, who would enjoy this? I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's like, this is that film that if you're in a new relationship or in a steady relationship and you're like, you want to find some common ground of like, hey, I like horror films, but my partner doesn't. This is that movie where both people can feel fulfilled when or after they watch it. And in not so many words, I think it's kind of a cautionary tale as well. Know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
And if you're super right-wing conservative, it's like, hey, like, know the women you're going to go talk to, or vice versa. Know the guys you're going to go, like, if your daughter or your son is like going to go hang out with somebody, show them this movie. Be like, just be cautious of what you're getting yourself into.
100%.
You know what I mean?
It's like, it is a nice intro to horror.
Yeah, very good.
Very nice intro to horror. And it's honestly, it actually skews younger than I originally had thought. I was talking to one of our followers on TikTok, and she was saying that she loves horror and she's a big fan of horror, but she loves Mometu. And one of the reasons that she loves Mometu is that she's able to watch a lot of the content we have on with her teenager.
Yeah.
And she said specifically, the first film that really bonded us on Mometu was Stupid Games. And it was just something they could really find common ground with.
Hopefully you told Danny that, or showed her the the post, because
no, she's going to find out about it right now on this podcast. So,
well, good for you, Danny.
There's so many stories about people just loving on that film, and it was the second film that we had released as an exclusive. And I'm so happy that we had been able to meet Danny and Nicholas. I met them at a screening for another film that was made by V Channels, which is known as Insurgents now.
Oh, and shout out to James Bressick too,
100%
friend of mine who actually gave Danny the opportunity to even do so, and it was kind of a mentor to her throughout the process as well. Shout out to you, James.
Yeah, JCB.
Yeah,
a lot of love on both couches over here.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother podcast to talk about what that does. I'm hoping I can get him on this podcast as well, because he has some stories.
Yeah,
and some of the stuff that he's been able to make has been really, really fun to watch. And that's since I met him again last year at the premiere. So really happy that we chose Stupid Games, not only just as an exclusive, but I'm glad that you chose it as well, so we can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, I'm always gonna boost my friends up. I'm a fan. Here recently, I've actually tried my best, no matter what movie I'm going for, not to hate on it. I typically find myself speaking on a film from the stance of, I'm not the audience.
Yeah,
I went and I'm not the audience you need in your film, especially if it's executed well, right? So if you meet all the the QC points, you've likely made a good film. You just have to get it in front of the right audience, and that is where every filmmaker wants to be. It's the difference between something like The Substance that's Oscar nominated versus A Complete Unknown. Right? Both amazing films, but you take, like, The Complete Unknown's demographic is probably the same as what we find on the road. Like, young kids despise my movie. We sat in front of 400 and something people that were 55 and older, tears, clapping, just abundantly enjoying this film. And I'm like, man, like, the difference of who your audience is
100%
makes or breaks the film.
Yeah.
So as if you've advertised properly, then you should get decent reviews, because your advertisement should be angled towards the person that is your demographic. And nowadays we see, and you know this, you advertise to everybody. Like, advertisements in general are meant to, that's why, you don't have red band trailers playing on every station. It's like, it's the green band trailer that keeps stuff out. And it's like, no. If you're honest about the movie, have you ever seen honest trailers?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you guys got to go see that. Honest Trailers is one of the most hilarious. Okay. It breaks down every movie, and it's like, no. You really want to know what's happening in this movie? And then they break it down and they make a new trailer. And it's hilarious. Some of them are awesome, because, like, the honest trailer is like, no, that's it. And then others are like, they play like if it did poorly in the box office, or if it's whatever, the trailer reflects often like how corny a film is, or how.
I actually don't like trailers.
I'm more and more against trailers now, like, as a filmmaker, because I'm like, there's a part of me that wants to know zero about a movie and then go in and enjoy.
Trailers need to be teasers.
Yes.
And I feel nowadays when you see 2-minute trailers
You know the whole movie.
You're telling so much more about the film
Yep.
than you should, unless it's done right.
Yeah.
I think I truly believe, and I feel like every filmmaker needs to make sure that their trailer is 60 seconds or less.
Yeah.
I think that should be industry standard.
I think
And
so.
even
too.
if you want to do a second trailer, that's okay, because typically portions of it are going to carry over one way or to both.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
But like teasers, because we
Yeah.
want the audience to be so excited about or just intrigued that they're going to go watch it. And I feel like sometimes I see a trailer, I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I know too much about it already, and that's just not no.
What's one of your favorite films?
Favorite films of all time?
Yeah.
Or that's such a loaded question. I hate when I get this question because I always I've seen so many films that
Me too.
I almost went like, well, what genre?
That's fair.
Because it's the question almost like this year. It's like you just mentioned, The Complete Unknown and Substance. Like,
Right.
how can we judge those two together?
I don't get how you can judge those two either, because what are you looking at? What's your spectrum?
No, I get it.
Like,
and who's judging? Because
Yeah.
each individual person has different things that they like about different genres, and so like
the audience members for Substance versus Complete Unknown could not be further separated.
100%.
Oh my gosh.
So that's when I get that question, it's like I love comedy, right?
Yeah.
But I also love war movies,
Mhm.
and not like war as in like World War movies. I'm talking more like epics, like Bravehearts and the gosh, I'm totally blanking on the name now, but with Tom Cruise,
Edge of Tomorrow,
no, Tom Cruise,
World of the Worlds.
Last Samurai. There we go.
There we go.
But like those movies like that, they're so impactful. Some of them are true stories. Some of them are just
Right.
kind of based on true stories, or some of them are just completely made up. But like, I love those types of movies as well. But I can't hold one
I know.
in a better bucket than the other. And so but when I get to, when I think about like my friends and growing up in high school, and like that was all comedies and just quoting like every movie possible, like quoting Wedding Crashers and Old School and Office Space and and Anchorman and
I think
just
that's one
all
of the
those different
greatest
films.
pastimes with any close group of friends is like
Yep.
being able to be in a moment and then like throw in a hey cable guy, like
Yep.
anything that resonates between the two of you that is indicative of that moment, and you just have a good laugh. Like
Yeah.
that to me is what film is about.
And
is
it doesn't matter that if it's any situation, if something just was a bad choice, it's always for me. I'm just like, oh, Milk was a bad choice, and it's just like
Milk
I
was a bad
always go back
choice.
to it. So
Yeah.
again, it just depends on the film.
Yeah.
Like there's so many incredible films that I've seen over the time. So I never been able to say like I can just pick one,
okay. Well then,
and I think it's just depending on the situation. Like
this you might be able to pick.
Go ahead.
this. What's your most quoted movie?
oh,
Mine's probably Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber's up there, and I think maybe with my brother, Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, I mean, Old School.
Okay.
I think with friends, Old
We're
School.
going streaking.
Yeah. Bring your green hat.
Yeah.
Old School's up there. Office Space though is up there. It's just
Space is a phenomenal.
it's but then all the Adam Sandler films, Billy Madison and Big Daddy. Like
That is
now being like
correct.
having a toddler now, just like I
Yeah.
think of Big Daddy and it gets me every
Wear
single
whatever
time.
you want.
Yeah. So true. Like
Really? You're
I've
gonna go
gone through
outside
like
in that?
3 different
Okay.
shirts in the morning. I'm just
Yeah.
like, wear whatever you want. Like
Yeah.
it's fine. It's daycare. Before we get out of here, I have this gift for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Got a Mometu box for you with some popcorn in there. But then we also have one of our T-shirts that is from An Electric Sleep. So the first movie that we premiered back in December
Dope.
of 23. Yep. So
Can you give me the rundown on Electric Sleep?
Electric Sleep's black sci-fi thriller, made for $13.5 actually. Incredible
Nice.
film. It won some. I think it's got like 13 or 14 film festival wins. But it's pretty much this couple that I don't want to give away too much of the story, but this couple that they're doctors and they're trying to solve this problem.
Okay.
And
Is
so-
it about sleep or no?
Kind of.
Okay.
So I can't, again, there's so much loaded in even the name that I don't want to give away. But pretty much that they're solving this issue. And then there's these bad guys that want to control that and take over what they're finding or what they're working on.
Nice.
So go watch An Electric Sleep too. Phenomenal film.
Thank you for the package. Thank you for the
Ben
invite.
Taylor. Ben Taylor is the Ben Taylor and Theo Brown, the filmmakers
Sick.
on that one. Incredible, well done.
Well, I appreciate you having me. It's been a blast to relive some of the stuff. So yeah.
Thanks for cruising all the way down to make it here. It's raining today too, so I'm glad you
it
drove
never
safely.
rains really in LA, except for the whole month of February. I've tried to
true.
tell people that. It's like it never rains all year except for February.
Yeah, I'm born in February, so I know.
There you go.
Most of my birthdays are rainy days, so it's unfortunate.
Well,
But
Brian, thank you.
No, thank you again as well, and yeah, look forward to having you back on the podcast eventually as well.
See you guys later.
Thanks for spending your time with us today on the More For Me and You podcast. If you've made it to the end, we appreciate you. Now, go do us a quick favor. Please like, comment, and share this episode. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode with the incredible guests we have coming up. You can also follow us at Mometu Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. Oh, and for your next movie night, check out the Mometu app. It's free and packed with amazing movies and shows you've probably never seen. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the pod.